Hey, baseball coach, parent, or player, got a question for you. What are the chances in, say, the next month that your players will have to battle against failure? Will like have to overcome the challenge of having failed? And the loss of confidence, say, that often comes with that. How about the doubt? Fear? Will there be fear, frustration in the next month? How about anger? Do you think that's going to happen? Assuming they're playing games now. Confusion, inconsistency, choking. I mean, if you've been around baseball enough, it's almost hard to get through that list with a straight face because the answer is 100%. The players, your players, will have to deal with this. The question becomes, how are you arming them to deal with that? What are you doing? Physical stuff? Yeah, I'm going to do my hand path. I'm going to do my change up, first and thirds, bunt defenses, get in shape to deal with those challenges. What are you doing to deal with this, which many people say is a majority of the game in terms of performance? I say get Heads Up Baseball 2.0 and devour it. Just pick it up, get your highlighter, and just devour Heads Up Baseball 2.0. You'll be joining close to 200,000 people before you who have done this. We're talking about 5 skills for competing one pitch at a time. Joe Madden says it's a book that teaches the mental skills you need to gain a competitive edge. Bottom line, Heads Up Baseball 2.0, it gives you simple tools and strategies to overcome the failure, frustration, and fear the game throws at you each day and instead play with confidence, consistency, and composure under pressure. Who wrote this? Dr. Ken Ravizza, who very sadly passed away the summer of 2018. This gives you a little sense of who he was in baseball world. He worked in the major leagues for 30 years and tons with Joe Madden, with Mike Scioscia, so Angels, Rays, Cubs. He was a Cub working with the Cubs and they win the World Series. And he worked with all these top college teams. I mean, he could just go on and on with who he worked with. And myself, I was a college head coach for 7 years. I was a hitting coach at the University of Virginia for 3 years and worked full time with the Yankees. I worked with the Rangers. What we did really was talk to the best people and say, well, how do you do it? How do you do the mental game? How do you deal with that adversity? And we put it together into really a step-by-step manual on that makes it easier for you, for the coach, player, parent, to become mentally tough, to become really good competitors. This was just a couple years ago, really. Heads Up Baseball, written in 1993, the 1.0 version, which is still great. This book is an upgrade. It's not a sequel. You don't need this other book first. But Aaron Judge, as I'll show you in a second, said, "Oh, I read Heads Up Baseball," and this shot up to number 1, a 23 or 4-year-old book at the time. Here's a quick sample of a page, which also gives you this. It's a big part of Heads Up Baseball is most players ride the emotional or the results roller coaster. You get, hey, make a play, I'm the man. Get a hit, ah, yeah, I got out, I'm terrible. Oh, we won the game, yeah, oh, we lost. That's up and down is what here and then we talk about, as we do throughout the book, hitters, pitchers, current major league stars, saying what they do to overcome it. So the book is a pretty good sized book, but it's very readable with pictures and quotes and so forth that makes it very easy to take in, gives a lot of solutions for how to deal with these problems. And it's up to the player then and the coach to help the player figure out how they do it. Not everyone's going to do it just the same as Trout, but it's pretty cool to know what Trout does, right? I think. So backing out just a little bit, what do you think? Is baseball 10, how much of it is mental? 20, 50, 80, 90? Over the last 30 years, I've asked this question a ton, and it usually comes out in a group that average around 80. So that's a big part of it. And so the question becomes, what investment have you made in the mental game? What percentage of your time, energy, resources have you put to solving these mental game issues so your players are armed to go out and compete and deal with the reality of the game? It isn't just BP. I want to take more BP. Well, the pitcher doesn't throw BP. How do you deal with the reality of what you have to face as a hitting when you're 0 for 10? How do you prepare them for that? Why is it that players and coaches and parents just haven't made that investment? It's a question of how. How do you do that? And this book, really a manual, solves that. And it's basically the premise here is that we can train to develop these skills. Confidence. Everyone just thinks confidence just follows success. Well, you can switch that and generate confidence first. How do you do that? Well, you get the get this book. How to be consistent, how to overcome failure faster, playing well when feeling bad. That's competing. That's what top players do. John Lester has a great quote. He says, "Hey, 30 starts in a year, I'll feel really good on 5 of them." So 25 times out of 30, I'm going to have to battle, compensate, and adjust. How do I do that? How do I? It's a mental. That's what is in Heads Up Baseball. Access to talent under pressure, so avoiding choking. Be a better teammate, which is huge. Ultimately, what coaches want these days, talk to the top coach. What do you want in a player besides the physical skills, of course? I want him to be a great competitor. I want him to compete, just give it all on one pitch at a time. And the player should say, well, how do you do that? How do you train for that? And also, especially for parents, hey, if we want to help them build a better life, the things with the Heads Up Baseball skills directly transfer off the field to rest of life. Get people all the time over the last 25 years, people write and say, hey, I actually use the Heads Up Baseball stuff more in my life as a dentist or as a business person, as a teacher, as a father, more than I even did as a player. So thank you. So if that's what you want, if you think that's a good thing, that's another reason to get the book. Joe Madden says most practice time is spent trying to perfect mechanics or get stronger. Perfect mechanics or get stronger. Those are important, of course, but when the game time comes and the ump says play ball, the real advantage lies with the player who has trained himself to compete. Committing yourself to play Heads Up Baseball will help you get the most success and enjoyment out of your talent. So if you want the most success and enjoyment out of your talent, here he is tweeting about it. Aaron Judge, I mentioned, says the mental game is what separates good players from the great players. So anything I can do that gives me that mental edge to help me stay my best, I'm going to try and do it. He started digging in the dirt, if he got frustrated and throw it away while he's at Fresno State because it's in Heads Up Baseball. After reading that, co-authored by sports psychologist Ken Ravizza. Judge has read the book again and again and has added the sequel, Heads Up Baseball 2.0, to his library. So you just Google Judge and Heads Up Baseball and you see that article. So again, let's wrap this up. What percentage investment have you made in the mental game, and how does it match up with how important you think the mental game is? When would be a good time? When would be a good time for you to gain this competitive edge? Well, if you have some doubts, understand. I understand. And so let me just finish with this. 100% money back guarantee. If you don't love it, I think what's going to happen is you get it and you love it and people will want to borrow it and you have to fight to get it back, or don't even let them, or just tell them to get their own. But if you don't love it, just let us know and we'll give you 100% your money back guaranteed. No problem, no questions asked. We'll probably just ask you then to give it to someone that you think would like it, and then you win that way too. So we're all about having you win here, and how to do that on the field, how to gain that competitive edge, be a competitor, deal with all those obstacles I listed on the first page. That's what you get in Heads Up Baseball, and I encourage you to take action on it right now.